Boom, ladies and gentlemen, it is official. We are this year going to do the first executive protection symposium, right? So many of you know that I've been doing the Protector Symposium for quite a few years, and it's been awesome, man. Like, we've been able to really change people's lives, but this year we're going to aim at something a little bit different. I've been wanting to do this forever, and I'm going to use the skills I learned from the first event to do this. This is going to be an event aimed at executive protection professionals. This is going to be an event aimed at agents and management level, team leaders, and folks that are building their careers. I wanted to create an event that had extreme value to us. You know what I mean? So like, we're out in the industry, we go to events, and why do we go to these events? Because of networking, right? What if I could create an event that supercharged the networking impact on your career and those relationships? This event, the EP Symposium, is designed to do that. I will get you in front of hiring managers. You will be able to get your professional photo taken on site. You will have a number of experiences with those same hiring managers that will help you be identified to be hired. There's going to be multiple sub-networking events inside this event. You're going to have the opportunity to train if you want to and get certifications that you maybe didn't have enough time to get during the year. Plus up on some medical certs, take a pistol course, take a number of different courses that we can knock out in the course of a day, and just plus up your training jacket so you walk away with definite validated value to take out into the industry to make you even more hireable. And let these training directors see you, right? Have industry conversations that are led by the crowd, so you're not just sitting there watching PowerPoint presentations the whole time and wondering if you're getting value. This event is carefully crafted to get value to the agent on the ground and team leaders so that we can find each other, get work, and have the most valuable careers of our lives in the protection industry. There's never been anything like this. We're going to focus on hard skills and soft skills. And if you really want to, you'll also get a chance to compete in the Protector Games and find out where you stack up in the industry. But that's not for everyone. You don't have to participate in it. But I can't wait to bring you the EP Symposium coming to you this year. Hit the links below, sign up, early bird prices, all the madness. We're just warming up, we're just getting started. This is gonna be amazing. God bless Semper Fi, more to come. Boom, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Executive Protection Lifestyle Podcast. Yo, every guest is special, but I got my main man, Charles Law here. It's an honor, man. He's back. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to be on again. I appreciate you having me.
No, heck yeah. Our last episode, if you guys haven't listened to it, it was fire. We talked about a lot of more business and leadership-centric topics, and it hit, bro. It hit. It's like I would say it's easily one of the favorite episodes of this season, man. So it's an honor.
Good, I'll take it. Yeah. I'm glad you're doing what you're doing because, we all get a little bit of flack for being out in the open, you know what I mean? Being on the internet or putting the video out or social media, what have you. And while I understand the quiet professional aspect, it depends, are you in government? Are you in the private sector? What are you doing? And are you maintaining client confidence? Yeah, there's a lot of questions there. But we don't talk to each other. If we don't put out good content, we can't, go to your saying, which is, rising tide lifts all ships. So who's doing that? Who's putting effort in? Who's putting content out, making it happen? I definitely appreciate you doing that because we all, as business owners, managers, executives, what have you, in the security industry, we all know we're only as good as the guy on the ground doing the work. And if you if you don't have a good guy doing that, you're worthless. You're not good you're not any of your clients. So how do we elevate from the bottom to the top? And you're getting after it. So I appreciate it.
No, thank you. That means a whole lot. I had a couple of conversations these last few months on that were pretty interesting. And reminded me of certain things too, like this library is the largest free library on real world, video library on real world executive protection content that exists in the world, bro. Like we're on, I think we're coming up on 200 episodes, 200 hours. Some of those episodes are 3 hours, at least 200 hours of giving people canonized people's experience doing this game. So many of them at the top of the game. So many, like
it's just like, really, man? And then so I like to remind people that. And then if you take that and you fuse it and you look at it with, and I'm saying this so that you guys watching can take advantage of these free freaking assets that I've put together over the years, and take advantage of this stuff. The field notes, we're well over 100 field notes. I put out I think we might be at 150 executive retention field notes. Bro, that's a whole education. Like even as an employer, I know I ain't everyone's cup of tea, and the information's not perfect, and I know that, I wear my little black smog and piss people off. And I really respect the guy for telling me. He was like, "Yeah, we hate you wearing that smog," and I was like, "Really?" He was like, "We hate that." I was like, "I'm not respect that, dog." As far as I'm concerned, I learned it in Iraq when I was coming of age. So I'm gonna wear my smog, but but a lot of the content,
do our own thing.
But the fact still stands. Like, if you really want to know, and this is what I tell guys that try to come to my course, they're like, "Well, right now the financial timing's not there." I'm like, "Bro, you got that I can think of at least 300 to 350 videos you can watch that are actually quite an education." A guy hit me up the other day talking about, I got to go to an FBO. What should I do? I was like, well, and I Googled real quick, executive protection FBO ops, and I have 12 videos where I'm just walking you through. This is exactly what I'm about to say. I'm about to go into an FBO. Literally, I got interviews with FBO with FBO workers and everything. So anyways, it's been an honor. So message to you guys, go take advantage of the free content in the podcast and on my YouTube channel. But for this interview with my main man, Charles, for those of you who are just tuning in for the first time, I worked for LSI, his company out here in SoCal, when I came off of one of my big runs, doing a lot of international stuff for a big client. And I wanted to stay local, and I wanted to start building my books in California. And I started chasing the pager here. He was one of the companies, Law, Security, and Investigations was one of the companies I worked for. And Charles was still one of the best bosses I ever had, looked after me, took care of me. And it was a really positive experience. And I learned a lot of things about leadership that I still to this day take into the game now. And I still, when I'm facing certain equations, I be calling Charles up like, "Yo, bro, what's she doing on there?" We had a conversation yesterday. How you do this thing, And he's like a big bro in the game, man. He gives me some guidance, so it's an honor, man.
No, I appreciate it. What year was that? Was that 15 or 16, something like that?
Bro, I think I was filling out some paperwork the other day, and it was like 15 when we were.
Man, that's pushing 10 years ago. That's crazy how time flies. But for me, I was going to add this piece. So we've been in business since 2010, but we really started pushing in 15. So if guys have seen the other podcast, we met at a Marine Corps ball. I saw you there, and we started a conversation. But and then I checked with some guys that are pretty solid. Kane gave you a great review and said, "Get that guy if you can." So we had a conversation from there. But as a company that was up and coming at that point in time, we had a few contracts going, but we were working on building. Finding good guys is still a challenge. It's always a challenge. It's never going to stop being a challenge. But you were one of those guys that absolutely helped us build. So that relationship was absolutely a two-way street, and it also lends to the value of relationships and maintaining those relationships. If I can fault myself with anything, it's not maintaining relationships like I should. For whatever my excuses are, I get busy, I'm running around 100 miles an hour. I don't have time to get to everything. And it doesn't mean those relationships and people aren't important. Right. It just means we're all running and gunning to some degree in our our respective endeavors. But so vital to keep those. I'll send a text sometimes randomly. I'll think of somebody and I'll send them a text. Just on them or something like that. But this is a good example of a relationship that's paid dividends for us, because I think you worked for us maybe a year or two, and then you were off doing your own thing, taking off, doing your thing, building what you got now. But that relationship, even since then, has paid dividends for us in relationships we were able to bring to each other, and we're able to benchmark the challenges we run into with various things.
I love it.
It's valuable, right? Because two heads are better than one. Sometimes you got to start asking the boys, hey, what's the best way to negotiate this one?
100%. And vetting guys.
Yeah.
Bro, you got anything on this dude? What do you know about a such and such? Hey, gents, out there in the game, ding, ding, ding. Yeah, you guys do something wrong in Cali. It's a small pool, man.
Exactly. And employers can only say so much.
Right.
So employers say he did or didn't work here, he is or isn't eligible for rehire. That's about as puzzled as you're going to get. But what we all need to understand is it's not one person that sees us. Your whole detail sees you. The points of contact see you. The client sees you. Mm-hmm. And when you step on that landmine, if you're being irresponsible or whatever the reason is, that shrapnel goes everywhere. And your reputation will follow you because it's just too tight of an industry. And that's not just in Southern California, Texas, Florida, New York, Miami, any of that. It's not just those places. It's everywhere. It's a small community.
Yep, 100%. Message.
Exactly. So So be on your P's and Q's. That's the moral.
100%, man. Do good business. Be dependable. Deliver. Boom. Also, you guys. Charles is going to be one of our speakers, one of our presenters, one of our elite instructors at the EPX event, the EP Expo. I'm super stoked about that. Maybe give him a little bit of a preview, man. What are you excited about with regards to this event? And then we'll get into more of the business of executive protection conversation. I got a little itinerary with some questions. I think I got some good ones coming. But for the event, what are you excited about, bro?
I'm excited about the whole thing. So for me, the top of my list is the networking. Now, that's networking at every level, right? So you and I, we'll go shoot together, we train together. We'll go do these types of things. We'll work together. We do all that stuff. So that's always an honor and a pleasure. And thank you for asking me for this because that's a good head nod that you gave me. So I appreciate it.
100%.
But I really love the mentorship aspect. So I think I probably said this on a few other podcasts. I've had some phenomenal mentors. I've also had horrible bosses, and I learned from everybody. But if there's, being 20 years doing this thing, if there's anything that I can impart to a new guy trying to come up in the game and make a name for himself and make a living and take care of his family, take care of his team, take care of his company, and just help impart that right mindset, I'm more than happy to do that. At some point, we're going to retire out of this thing, and someone else has got to grab the torch and carry that. So anything I can do to help direct that, even guys who've been in the game for a while, we all get things from each other. Someone else has been in the game for 20 years and they'll say something to me, and I think I know stuff, and I'm like, man, that's the first time I heard that gem.
I hit that one. Yeah.
So new guys that have been in it for a while, vets, guys coming from all backgrounds, military, law enforcement, or both, or just coming up in the private sector. What does it mean to work in the private sector? What are its challenges? What are the positives, the negatives, the whole thing? What are the pitfalls you got to watch out for? I just love chopping it up with people because, it's like martial arts. You roll with a dude and you get hammered for 5 minutes straight, submitted 3-4 times, and you go, that sucked, but I learned a bit. You know what I mean? So chopping it up back and forth, building the network, meeting new people. We also meet a lot of, we make relationships in other areas, which I like. We just recently needed people in New York, and we had to go through a couple subs. We needed people in Miami. We had to go through a couple. You gave me a couple guys in those places. Overseas, we had a couple things. So how do we find those guys, build that relationship? Because, you can't just meet somebody and put them on your detail. That's playing with fire. You got to know them. You got to know the background. You got to have the right references. They got to pass the sniff test. They got to be vetted. So being able to do that stuff, I'm looking forward to it, man. Anyway, long-winded answer, but that's what I'm looking for.
It's good stuff, bro. You're going to compete in the Protector Games?
I may.
You're going to be around day one.
You're calling me out. Now you put it on the podcast. So I'm going to have to get out there. I'm an old guy, but I'm going to have to knock some dust off. You know what I mean? I'm an office guy at this point. I did it once in a while, but I still got it.
You still got it. You be on the mats, man. You guys follow him, man. It's good stuff. He'd be out there wilding out. He'd be out there getting it in, training.
I'm trying to stay young, man. You know what I mean? There's a shelf life. And if you can't perform, you got to hang it up. So I'm just steadily making sure I can perform.
No, 100%. Let's talk a little bit about, because this impacts all of us, a little bit about health and fitness, bro, because you look like you cleaned your game up, bro, up. Like you were always fit and athletic. You always had a build where it's like, okay, this dude's a strong dude. But like, you look healthier. And, a lot of guys out there are struggling with that. So any tips, anything you're doing that you want to pass on?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me preface it with this: is you represent your own brand, you represent your client's brand, your team's brand, right? So if you're looking sloppy, it will hurt you. Okay.
It will hurt you.
I'll speak for myself.
Yep.
Okay. I played ball all through school, college, what have you, had opportunities at arena ball, but kept getting hurt. So I was pretty athletic all through school. That's the point of that comment. Having that, I was always in pretty good shape. There was a time where I was working quite a bit and wasn't getting my gym time in. I wasn't getting it in like I should. Put on a few pounds, got caught in pictures that hit the wire. I wasn't way overweight or anything like that, but for my standard, I saw it and it shook me. I was like, that is not freaking acceptable. Yeah. And I don't know at all, but I think it may have hurt me a little bit with the client I was with at the time. So I had to rectify that immediately. I never got told anything. Nobody ever said straighten it up or anything like that. I was just like, man, I'm feeling like the shifts are not as coming as free.
Am I the fat kid on the detail? Like, am I the plus size model today?
Yeah, and I wasn't even really a fat kid, but I wasn't at the standard that client would have wanted. So we'll just put it like that. So that is key because you represent, right? Do you look the part?
Yep.
Are you a visual deterrent enough? If someone knows, sometimes we're high vis a little bit, whatever. Sometimes we're a visual deterrent, but we won't be seen until it's time to be seen. But when it's time to be seen, are you a hard target? Is basically
100%.
Yeah. So I actually switched my game up to answer that part of the question.
Real quick. We won't be seen until it's time to be seen, but when we are seen, are you a hard target? Man, shit, just take that one back. I need to know the sound effects I've been seeing anyways. On the
man.
Let's go.
But it's true, right?
100%.
So that's a consideration for company owners, points to contact, the clients themselves. Maybe your stature's not, maybe you're not hitting quite 6 feet. You know what I mean? Maybe you're not 200 pounds. You know what I mean? Maybe you're a smaller guy. What are you bringing to the table? Yep. Right? You have a martial arts background. Like, do you have these hard skills that are going to solve problems? How do you carry yourself? What's your demeanor? Can you communicate? De-escalation? All these things. Like, all these things matter, right? Are you a big guy? Great. Are you fat or are you just big boned? You know what I mean? Are you hitting the gym? That type of thing. So I was hitting the gym and that just from playing sports through school and whatnot, that was a heavy part of the regimen. And I'm not saying don't do that, but I pivoted from there and started going heavy in the martial arts with the Muay Thai and the BJJ. Ooh. For me, it's more of a translatable skill to what I may need if I ever do need that skill set. It also keeps it sharp because I can't have done it. I couldn't have been awesome 10 years ago. You know what I mean? That it's a perishable skill, just like everything else. Yep. So I stay on that. Keeps me in shape. Cardio's right. There's no fight like fight. There's no shape like fight shape. Yep. So it keeps that together. Also, I've been injured much less. So part about how I train martial arts and that kind of thing, but I'm injured less because it is functional fitness as opposed to, let's just push the weights and work the beach muscles or whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's actually helped quite a bit. Less injuries, less soreness, that kind of thing, and much better cardio. So I switch it up to that. It helps quite a bit.
Okay, so much more martial arts, muscle endurance, cardio is in there. Any dietary things that you changed?
Yeah, listen.
You getting all Viking-y on me? You cold plunging and all this stuff?
No. I'll do the cold showers here and there, that kind of thing. Maybe a cold plunge once in a while, but I can't say I'm heavy in it at all. But the diet I try to keep right. So portions are correct, lean proteins, fish, chicken, that kind of thing. Get the vegetables and the brown rice in there and all that kind of stuff. So for me, the dietary stuff gets super complicated when you start running down the rabbit hole. So am I burning more calories than I take in order to keep the weight where it needs to be? That's my diet. Now, I fall off the wagon on occasion.
You're like a low-key fat kid like me. You got a little fat kid genes.
Yeah. I got the fat kid in the middle, the same thing. So I do that, but 80-90% of the time I'm eating pretty clean. Because I also notice, especially when age starts to get after you, you start hitting the gym and you do some hard rolls for an hour or two, and you haven't been eating right, or you ate nasty the day before, you're going to pay for it. Yep. So, how do I optimize my game across the board? Part of that is obviously nutrition.
Yep, 100%. No, I love it. Good stuff all around. And one of the things that's informed my dietary behaviors has really just been, I want to be sharp, man. Like I want to be sharp. I want to, like, reality is my drug. Like I don't drink. I don't do anything, not because it's like right and wrong. Like we're above that. Like my game now is like, I'm on mission, homie. Like I don't want to wake up tomorrow and not be sharp because I got decisions I got to make. You know when that client's going to call me, right? When I'm 3, 4 deep with the ball. You know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
so, you know, in terms of eating food, processed food, like when I'm on the road, I try to eat carnivore as much as I can. I don't mess with the intermittent fasting on the road because, you know, you're in the client's world and you just might have to fast the whole entire day if you mess around like that. I'll make sure I get a good breakfast in, but I'll keep it protein. But, you know, these things have made a huge difference in my life. And I wake up in the morning. Now, if I eat some like what I call population control food, I notice mental cloudiness. I notice that I have a food hangover. And so I've been able to stay away from that. And that's really just really changed my life to where it's like, I don't even want, like I last thing I was at was a veterans thing. I had a drink with the boys and I was like, dude, I don't even want to be like this. Like I want to be sharp. I want to be able to give what I got. I want to be able to be present with these cats. So that's been pretty awesome. Awesome. So let's get into some business stuff real quick, man. Let's see here, advice to someone thinking about starting an EP company. Did we ask you this question last time?
You may have, but I'll hit it again.
Yeah, let's go, man. Young buck. He's been operating operationally, and he's like, I'm gonna start my own EP company.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm with you. So because I was the little salty guy at one point as well. So
yeah, man.
Approach it with humility is the first thing I'll say. Absolutely approach it with humility. You are getting into a game you know nothing about when you're starting. You just don't. And I can only say that because I didn't know anything about it. Right. And if I do the amount of money and time and mistakes that I wasted, it is ferocious.
Ferocious. That's a good word.
It's ferocious. It'll make you want to curl up in a ball. You know what I mean? It's bad. Now, I've tried to mitigate that as much as possible we were talking earlier about benchmarking with each other. I benchmark with other business owners. I'm always trying to find mentors. I just went to an event yesterday with a bunch of business owners, not even necessarily in security industry. Okay. But how do you manage personnel? How do you manage your HR? How do you manage your cash flow? How do you manage your accounts receivable and payables and what have you? What are you guys doing that is successful? What's funny is business ownership is business ownership, and it really doesn't matter the industry, right? Each one has its intricacies, but it doesn't matter. We all have the same problems,
right?
And challenges, especially when you're dealing with personnel. So yeah, I would say approach it with humility. It's going to be new. You're going to make mistakes. Find mentors that can help walk you through it and shorten the learning curve. Because if you can capitalize on someone else's wisdom, you don't have to spend that time and money and make those mistakes necessarily. So I would say those things and just be super humble, and you got to put your guys first. You got to put your team first. So if you don't make them the most important thing,
you'll lose them.
They don't feel that and appreciate that. It's going to be a tough go. That's just what I can say about that.
Yep. No, 100%, man. You're only as good as your guys on the ground. Yeah, that's one that has stayed true no matter who I've asked that's been successful in this game. Approaching it with humility. You got to realize, and I always say this, but I'm going to say it again. Being an operator and a business owner, those are different skill sets, player. Like you're a jiu-jitsu guy going into a Muay Thai gym, right? You catch that first leg kick to the head, you're gonna find Jesus. And that's this game, man. Like you're like, okay, I know EP. I'm gonna start a business. Yeah, there's so many points, because you do have to really become a master in so many things. Yeah. Do you have the leadership capabilities? Do you know how to find new clients? Do you know how to run the whole back end office? What about your legal game, bro? Like there's so many vulnerabilities that will be exploited if you don't plug those holes, and you'll get caught, bro, right up underneath. You're like, oh, where'd he come from? And you'll be out here sleepless nights, bro. I always say to the veterans, they're like, oh, I remember the good old days at war, when life was so intense, and like now I'm bored. I'm like, go be an entrepreneur, bro. You need a battle, you need to work, go be an entrepreneur. Fight, create something in this world that's going to serve the world on a high level. Just fight for that. That's a worthy cause, and it'll take a lot.
Yeah, it's also this on that note is there's times where I'll talk to some of the guys and they'll say, man, I want to go back to work. Just let me work this CP. You know what I mean? I don't need that. Or just give me an EP detail. Like I got one job. That's all I got to do. Let me have that. And that's a thing because business ownership, your one job turns into 100 jobs.
100%.
And even when you get people under you and you start building the team, you're responsible for everything. That guy makes a mistake. That's your mistake.
Yep.
You know, and wait till you get your first use of force. That's exciting. You know?
Yep.
There's so many things that can go wrong, and you got to keep the plate spinning and not let them drop. Another aspect of the volley that you just sent is can you keep your clients happy? That's a full-time job. Like you got to keep meeting and exceeding the standard. And if you can't take a day off, because you take a day off and those complaints come hard and multiple times. Well, it's still current. This is a recurring theme for us. I've got people I have good relationships with in the business in other companies, and someone's always bidding on my contracts. The vultures are always circling. So you get that chink in the armor, someone's going to get in there. And for me, it frustrated me in the beginning, but then I realized, no, that's keeping me sharp. My client should have the absolute best service that they can possibly get. And if that's not me, it should be somebody else. So I better make sure it's me if I want to stay in business. So just keeping clients, keeping that standard high, solving problems when they do arise. Sometimes they don't like the guy that they have on them necessarily, or he does make a mistake. How do you one, be accountable and responsible for that and eat what you need to eat? Mm-hmm. With the client, sometimes you got to do that. And how do you rectify it right away? You know, we've done everything from a quick change out, mentoring our guy because we want to keep him alive in the game period. So it's not just like get out of here type of thing. It's like, hey, there's a mistake. Client wants to switch. We're going to try to put you over here. Here's the learning lesson for this thing. You know, there's a multitude of things that you can get challenged with. You know, the invoice was wrong or the expenses were wrong. And now they're worried about your invoicing. How do you handle that kind of thing? Then how do you correct your team to make sure that invoice isn't wrong the next time? And then how do you put the systems in place to make sure you don't have to keep covering the same ground and making the same corrections? So
you can't make the same corrections. Yeah.
Well, you get one or two. If you're on that third one, you're probably going to pay for it. So, you know, nobody's perfect and everybody understands that, but you gotta,
I'll pay for the first one or two, but once I see a pattern, bro, I understand now, you know?
Exactly. And the other thing is, how do you take care of your guys in this respect? So I'll just speak on it because I had to deal with it today. We had a client who didn't want an agent we had on them. Mm-hmm. So I got a couple complaints a week or two ago, then a second complaint. I felt like I solved everything, and then I just got a third complaint. Okay. So client's adamant, don't want him anymore. Point of contact, I should say. We don't want him. Copy that. Let me check it out. I always say, hey, let me take a look. Let me do a little investigation and find out what happened.
Good. So I don't time. You acknowledge them. You know,
you need space, right? I just need a little space, a little time.
Make a good squeeze off a well-aimed shot real quick.
Exactly. Right. Because if I shoot too quickly, I get rid of my guy, I'm wrong. Or I instantly agree with the client. The client may not be right all the time. The client is always right, but sometimes they have bad information or they don't understand the approach. So
wisdom.
Yeah. So I had an agent make contact with somebody who was questionable, but he did it with one of the points of contact. He said, why don't you go have the conversation and I'll do it with you? Because he didn't want to escalate the situation because he was security. And it was
presence. Yeah,
exactly. So he did it that way. Everything worked out. He knew who the person was. He knew it wasn't a problem, but the staff thought it might've been a problem. They didn't like the way he handled it. So I got to sit on the phone for 5 minutes while I get a volley on how bad this guy is when he's not.
Yeah.
And I have to say, excellent. Respectfully, let's look at this from another angle. I did my investigation. I'm going to tell you why he did what he did. I went down the bullet points, this and that. They still weren't happy, but it put them on their heels a little bit because I understood what he did and he wasn't wrong.
Right.
So I stood in front. At the end of the day, I can get shot at for that. Points of contact don't like it when you disagree, especially when you feel entitled and that kind of thing. But I'm going to do it anyway because right is right and wrong is wrong. Right. So I did that, still was unhappy, wanted to make the change. So I said, good, I'm going to make some adjustments, get him out of the line of fire, then I may be able to bring him back in. And I'll keep him alive because we have other accounts to keep him on. But how do you defend your guys diplomatically without causing conflict with your point of contact or client, but also make sure they understand what really happened and they're not just shooting from the hip, because that'll happen on occasion. They don't understand it, shoot from the hip. He's wrong. I'm paying too much money. He's not doing what he's supposed to do. Completely understand, sir. Let me give you another way to look at it. Anyway, so how do you take care of your people, that kind of thing? And then how do you give yourself, like you said, how do I give myself time and distance? Right? How do I give myself space? It's just like in martial arts, right? I need space and time to make an effective decision. Like you said, squeeze that well-aimed round off. You know what I mean? Or not get my head taken off or put myself in a bad position where I'm going to get submitted.
This is good, man. This is good. I hope y'all listening, man. This is good stuff. Yo,
this is painfully earned experience. I'll tell you, because I've done this wrong a lot of times. And sometimes you're up against the wall and there's no right answer and you just do the best thing you can come up with. So, one of the other things I've been doing lately, you'll appreciate, is stoicism. So I'll do my little YouTube videos in the middle of Marcus Aurelius's reflections right now. I forgot the other guy's name, but there's another guy who's really deep into stoicism, has some great content he puts out there. But just this one has saved me a number of times, is control what you can control and don't worry about what you can't control. If I do everything to the level of excellence, every single thing I can do, and I meet that level of excellence, I can't control if someone's going to like me or not, or if the proposal is going to get accepted or not, or the contract's going to close or not, or we're going to keep the client or not. There's a million things I can't control, but I can control the content that I put out and the work product. And if I do great with that, I'll get taken care of on the other stuff. And that's proven true so far. It also calms me down because then I don't have to worry about can't control. If I worry about that, then, it's a stressful day, man. I got enough stress.
100%. What if grasshoppers had machine guns? Then we all die, but I agree with you 100%. That's one of the things that keeps me in a state of peace. Mine is control what you can control, prioritize, and execute. Like, we've been in some fights this year, battles, and I just, like, if I didn't, I thank God for my Marine Corps background too, because I can sit in a really bad situation and be like, okay, cool. Like, I'm gonna grab a toe. I can grab a toe. Like, I'm gonna find an ankle real quick. And I'm gonna take some hits, and then I got me a pinky. But I can control what I can control, prioritize, and execute. If I can take an inch, if I can take another inch, and that whole mentality is absolute gold. Especially when you're trying to make progress in endeavors in life, period. Control what you can control, prioritize, execute, rinse and repeat. And you march forward, man. That's huge. What would you say about?
I just took notes in the middle of a podcast. Let's
go, bro.
Be strong, bro.
No, that's what I always say, man. Dude, when the world is crashing, you're not dead. You're not dead. Yeah, you got shot 9 times. You're not dead. Control what you can control. Prioritize, execute. Feel nothing. Completely psychopathic when all the killing and the damage is starting. You're taking damage. You need to deliver damage. I feel nothing. I control what I can control. I prioritize. I execute. And maybe I have to sit in the pocket and burn for a minute, but I'm still alive. Guess what I'm doing? I'm controlling. It's God is good, man. But that saved me. Yo, what would you say?
Hey, one note. Let me jump in on that. So this is something I'm actually learning. So I'm starting to calm down in general. Age. I'm studying the stoicism stuff, whatever I'm doing, right? So I'll get bad news, dangerous news for the company. I got team members flipping out and guys are starting to run around in circles like chickens with their heads cut off.
All hair on fire.
Exactly. Or somebody's coming and offering us something that they shouldn't. So I usually would get frustrated and ready to fight. You know what I mean? Like, whether verbally or whatever. Like, I'm ready for a fight because somebody's doing something they shouldn't do. I'm starting now to just typically, as an agent out in the field, I would calm down. Things start going wrong. The protest starts to kick off, whatever. I just calm down, slow it down, and do execute, right? Prioritize and execute. Just keep doing what I need to do.
Kill the closest enemy. Then the next enemy.
Go through my progression and solve the problem. So as a business owner, that's a huge skill set also, especially when someone's threatening a lawsuit. Right. One of your guys is hitting you for a raise that's not necessarily deserved. Right. And getting salty about it or something like that. Those things that can tend to frustrate you. When that starts to come, I calm down, but I realized I was making a mistake. I was calming down so much. I go to my team and be like, oh man, it's nothing to worry about. Right. So he's coming to me saying, hey, the house is on fire. And I'm like, don't worry about it. As opposed to, man, that's terrible, right? I gotta meet you at the same level right now. Hey, I get it. The house is on fire. That sucks. Good. So what do you think we should do to fix it? So there's a couple gems in this thing.
What do we
for me, right? A couple
reversal.
Yeah. One, I can't negate what he's telling me. I can't.
100%.
Oh, the house ain't on fire. Don't worry about it. I can't do that. It's an instant fight. Like, no, then he's like, no, you idiot. The house is on fire.
Pressure needs to be released. That emotional pressure and all that needs to be addressed.
And he needs to be acknowledged that that's been heard and accepted and understood, right? Completely understand that. And usually I would do that and then come up with a solution. So at least acknowledging it is better than not. Mm-hmm. But I would acknowledge it and give him the solution. And I talked to Serenity is my chief of staff, and she said, "You're messing up." And I said, "What's happening?" She said, "You're taking away the problem from them and solving it, and they're starting to resent you for it." Mm-hmm. And I was like, "What?" I had to make her explain it to me because I didn't understand it at face value. But she's like, "Look, he's coming to you with something serious that's a problem, but then you're removing his ability to be responsible for it by just solving his problem and saying, do this." One, you're taking it away from him, so he gets salty. And then two, you're keeping yourself too busy. So I pivoted and I would go to, good. The house is on fire. Roger that, man. That sucks. What do you think we should do about it?
Yep.
It gives him ownership. Now he's empowered and he can say, well, I think we should do this. Now, the next question is, well, what if that's the wrong answer? Most of the time it's the right answer. Yeah. But if it's the wrong answer, I just say, good, you absolutely could do that. What do you think about maybe this? Or here's maybe a third option. What do you think? What I realize, if a person is a good person, employee, manager, executive, company owner, point of contact, client, guy off the street, if they're a good person with a good head on their shoulders, if you just lay out the logic, they're going to make the right decision. Yep. Period. 99% of the time. So how do I accept what's coming in, acknowledge it, and then empower that individual? This works with wives. It works with children. It works with that client, employees. It works with everybody because it's an empowerment thing and helping someone else to control their environment, which is what we're really trying to do. Anyway, long-winded again.
No,
those were some key things that I'm actually been working through in the last year or two.
No, that's huge, because also what you're doing is cultivating leadership. Now this person understands how to lead, how to problem solve, how to address these issues as they come up. They become more valuable with each engagement like that. And one of the things that I think guys don't talk about as much is like decision fatigue, bro. Like, I'll get through a day. I have to make so many decisions, bro. Between the companies I'm managing and the content I'm putting out, I am making so many decisions. And vision happens at the speed of execution, and execution happens at the speed of decision. And so you're sitting there, and I'm just like, go, like all day, just and then someone's like, and people are throwing you stuff because you're the CEO. And so my whole defense mechanism has been trying to create leaders, because part of what I teach in the social dynamics of executive protection portion is everyone's a leader. Everyone's a leader. Everyone's a servant, right? Servanthood is the ultimate leadership. But my guy doing halls and walls, like, he's a leader. I need him to lead me. What did you see last night? Were there any bolos? Did the client try to sneak out? Like, I need your leader. Come, man, tell me what you saw. You know, so I need that leadership from the ground. Also, you're tapping into empowering your guys on the ground. You want decision makers above all, but like, that's where the best quality information is going to come from to make the decision. And us as like maybe officers sometimes in the military come in and make these decisions that are out of touch with the ground. And the guys on the black side on the ground are just like, who's this? Like, really, who do they deal with this anyway? They might not tell you to your face because, they're you're the boss or whatever, but it's a great way, what you're talking about, to make those guys on the ground think through what's most relevant and effective in the battle space at that time.
Yeah. So, another challenge for me is making that a safe space, right? Yeah. I hate that term. I'm sorry. I can't believe that just came out of my mouth. But it's actually a thing, making them comfortable enough to approach me with the problem.
Straight up. Yeah.
And what's weird about that is I think I'm the most approachable guy in the world in my mind. You know what I mean? I've flown off the handle here and there, but I'm usually pretty mellow, right? Yeah. So I'm approachable, but some of my top guys I've heard, man, he's not really comfortable talking to you about that. And I didn't even think it was such a big issue. Yeah. And okay. Oh, it's an altitude thing as you move up the chain of command, even starting at the shift lead or the detail lead. Sometimes you have that little position of authority. And I'm not talking about abusing it or anything like that. I'm just how other people see you. So how do you take care of your team, empower them, let them know they can come to you with stuff? So we had an incident recently. It was a big deal for a client. I have 1,000 things going. It was something I should have been at. And my guy tried to tell me, but he didn't tell me.
He hinted. He liked you. He was like, well, you probably should take me to the.
It wasn't even that direct. It was
like, I don't really care if you come, I don't like one of those. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah. So part of me is coaching my guy. Like, that's not the communication I need. You know what I mean? I need straight talk. How did he go to do it? It was just a roundabout, like, hey, this is what we got. I don't feel like I have enough, this and that. I said, good, budgets and whatnot. We had to work all that out. I did a little back and forth. I said, look, this is the team that we got. We got to make it happen with that. He made a few comments. It didn't register because I got too much happening, right? Yeah. If I didn't have anything else going on, I would have picked up on it, pulled it out of him, and we would have solved the problem. But I didn't have the wherewithal because the bandwidth was all chewed up.
Yeah.
So the event takes place. He's salty. So we got to have a meeting later.
Got me out here with only a slingshot and a dead gun. Exactly. What did you think is this? Yeah.
Exactly. So we have the meeting, and it's a tough meeting, and I don't mind that with my execs.
I'm here for it.
You want to try to rake me over the coals? Do it, because if you're right, I'm going to tell you.
Yeah,
if you're wrong, 100%. Too, but if you're right, I'm going to tell you. He was right on a few of these aspects. I should have been there, and I didn't take that opportunity, and it was a missed opportunity. And I said, hey, Roger that. Now, I still got to follow up a little bit on this meeting with my guy. But the meeting will be, hey, this is what I need from you. I need straight talk. If you think, hey, Charles, you're out of your mind if you don't show up to this thing, and these are the reasons why. I need you there. I'm on the ground. I know what we need. I need you to be there. If I get that conversation, what am I going to say? No.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's only one answer. I'm going to do that. If I'm really screwed because I'm traveling or there's something else I can't get out of, I'm going to tell you that. But I need the straight talk because my bandwidth is so chewed up trying to go gain ground in the industry. I can't. You can't talk around the bush. You know what I mean? It's not going to land. Like, you got to punch me in the mouth with it. So those are some things that we work with as well, as far as being a team, coming together, being more efficient, understanding each other's expectations, et cetera.
Love it. Good stuff, man. Qualifying clients, bro. What's that conversation? Can you, and if any of this business, if you want to keep it close to the chest, but I've had some tough over these last few months. I had some clients okadoke me a little bit, like, we want, coverage on 50 VIPs in this other country overseas. And I'm like, that's salty. How am I do that? But I'll do it. So then I'm like sitting there like, I can do that. And then, like, I've had some situations where they're like, we didn't really think about funding aspect. And I'm like, what do you mean you didn't think about the fund? Like, that's impossible. You can't. So I have some new methods that I'm implementing, but what would you say, when someone calls you, asks you for services, are there any cheat codes that you're willing to share about just qualifying individuals?
Yeah, and the preface to that is, I don't mind sharing cheat codes. You know what I mean? Some stuff is proprietary and this and that, but you can do it better than me, then come take my clients. Do it. The best service possible. So I don't stay up thinking about that kind of stuff. I either do great work or I don't. So so there's that piece. So on that, let me formulate my response to that real quick.
Man, because I see dudes out there in the game. I had, where they're working a lot of the lower end stuff, and they're like, how do you get these clients? But like how do you get clients that can pay so that you can put a call out at that level that you're putting it out at and stuff like that? And I have passed up on a number of opportunities just because I'm like, I just will not be associated with that price point in my company, but then I have some clients come to me and they're like, hey, this is what we need. And it's always like, we need a platoon, 5 helicopters. I need the sharks with the laser beams on their heads. I need a moat around my house. Like, and I'm like, yeah, we'll make it happen, but, sometimes those fizzle and, it always turns into a funding conversation. So,
I've heard guys use the analogy that it's a dating game, right?
100%.
Whether you're male, female, whatever, you meet the guy or girl, and it's beautiful for the first 6 months, and then it gets real. With clients, it's faster than that. It's beautiful for the first hour or couple emails back and forth, and then reality's got to set in. So for me, I got to set expectations and reality immediately because I don't have time to mess around. I don't want to go back and forth. I don't want to hear about the budget. I don't want to hear this and that. Good. What is your threat level? Or can I run a threat assessment so we can really see what your need is and what we're going to face as a company and what you're looking for? I do all open source checks and the whole thing. I vet them as thoroughly and as quickly as I can. I give myself time and distance. I say, great, here's my list of questions. Can you answer these questions? And I'll talk to my team and we'll see what we can do or something like that. Just give myself a little bit of distance. And you get me, the helicopters and this and that. Yes, I can do that. But let's talk about your threat level and what you need. What are the locations? Who are the people that we're responsible for? The whole thing. You go through the list. If I smell anything fishy, like if it's that fishy, but we get excited as business owners because he wanted 5 different dudes and he was on him and he wanted to cover 3 sites. Man, that looks pretty good, right? If that pans out, you can't get excited. You got to go emotionless on it. So you got to
be a psychopath. Zero emotion. Execute. Yep.
Just heartless. Like you don't have a feeling. They're all gone. So if it's really that questionable, and I know it's not too much of a risk or whatever, and it makes enough sense, but I'm still skeptical on the budget or whatnot. Good, you're going to pay this much money up front. I'm not going to spin up my whole team, right, and get a bunch of guys working and get stuck with the bill. So sometimes there's that thing. Now, if I know they're good for it, this and that, I'm doing a proposal that's got to get signed, and then I'm doing a contract, and it says when you're going to pay and what the amount's going to be. And what the hourlies are. It's all broken down. So there's no misunderstanding. It's signed, and we don't start service until the contract is signed.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. But then you have the challenge. I've had the challenges. I'll be honest. I've had the guy, in 7 hours, I need 4 guys on a residence, and that's going to turn into 114 shifts a week. That's massive for a company, right? Roger that. I'm going to take care of you. And in my mind, I go, good. I can run this for a week and survive it. If all goes sideways and I don't get paid. But I say, hey, these are the things I'm going to need in place the next couple of days. I can do service for 5 days, 7 days until these things are in place. If they're not in place by that drop dead time, then I'm going to have to pull it. If that's if I'm pretty confident it's going to go. I won't even put myself out like that. And that's risky, but I have done that. And it was successful for that one. But, there's a right way to do it, and then there's risk mitigation.
Yep. Let's go. It's true.
Yeah. And the contracts are going to save you if you do it right and you pay the money, which sucks, and have legal put it together and make sure you're covered in every aspect of this thing. That keeps you alive, right? If you don't have these things in place and your guy gets any use of force or something like that, you are playing with fire. That is dangerous. So I don't know. Hopefully that answered your question, but that was the first thing I thought of.
No, there's a lot of good stuff in there. There was another one I wanted to hit you with. Would you say, well, let's go here first. Any wisdom on dealing with troublemakers in the company?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I like that one, bro. I like that one.
Good question.
Because it's one of those things, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, let me go through the progression. Step 1, make sure your hiring process is correct and thorough. Hire slowly and fire quickly. Now, do those within the HR parameters, especially if you're in a state like California. But hire slowly, right? So-and-so says this guy's a rock star. But you may talk to 2 other references that are like, that's a bad idea, right? Yeah. So you got to get all the references. We have a minimum of 3 that we get on each guy, minimum. And if we can't reach those guys, we say, hey, I need a few more references. I got to contact 3 people. You can't just put names on a paper. I got to talk to them. And they can't be grandma. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it can't be your mama.
Or your brother. Like, have you worked with them? Have they supervised you? I need a supervisor. That type of thing. So we get the references. Obviously, we start with paper, right? Are you right on paper? Do you have all your permits? Are they current and clear? All that kind of thing. Good. Who have you worked for? What's your background? All that kind of thing. Give me the references. Let's go through that whole thing. If they pass all that thing, then they go to secondary interviews with operations, because operations is going to know who they can put where.
Yeah.
Go through that interview process. Once that's done, it's a pain, and it's a lot of paperwork. You got to fill out all your paperwork, all that. Once you're through that and we're confident, good, we're going to put you on and give you the on-the-job training, site-specific training, SOPs, all that kind of stuff. We'll do that kind of thing. People slip through the cracks and you will have trouble. I've had trouble with guys that worked with me for years and were rock stars. And then for whatever reason, we had a
eye into the left.
we had a fracture in our views of the world or something like that, and it got spicy. So when that happens, I try to be as fair as possible. For example, I'm debating
whether I know. I got one thinking like, man, should I say anything?
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep it super general. So we had a guy was qualified, and I liked it. Wasn't perfect, but he was. If we needed something, my man would show up. He was awesome. I loved him for that. He was awesome. He would always show up. He'd work a shift. I mean, he was getting it in, and I really liked the guy. He changed counties or what have you. Didn't handle things perfectly.
Right.
Permits lapsed.
Yeah.
So he no longer qualified for the position. Right. And I can put you somewhere else, but the pay rate changes. Right. Because I can only bill so much at this other place. And they don't need that permit. So I can put you there legally.
Right.
So very much a troublemaker and not happy about it. Not happy with me. And I understood it. So I disciplined myself to not fly off the handle and just be as objective and not dance around at all. Hey, it requires this permit. You got to have the permit or I can't put you on. Right. And then guys throw up stuff at you that you got to be able to field. There was another guy that may not have had all his permits, let it be so stipulated. But the client wanted that person specifically and made an exception. Yeah. Right. So I got that aspect. I'm trying to keep the standard and have everybody have what they're supposed to have. He was covered by another guy who had everything he needed to go. And it was all understood across the board, clients and everything. But this guy threw it up like, that's not fair, this and that and the other. Used a few keywords and taglines that can freak a business owner out. I'll go deep into this rabbit hole, but I was just matter of fact with him and it was what it was. And I would use him again, but you also have to understand as an agent, if things are happening that you don't like, you don't agree with management, you don't agree with the company owner, this and that, you think they're wrong or they're not taking care of you, be careful how you treat people on the way up the ladder because you don't know who you're going to meet on the way down. So if you muddy up that relationship because you're unhappy with how things are going, we're all going to run into each other again. I'm going to have an opportunity to give you work again. You might not agree with me today, but I'm going to have an opportunity to use you. So how are we going to deal with each other today? Because we're both going to remember it. Yep. So it's a two-way street. I try to be as magnanimous and just as I can. Wow. I'm not perfect all the time, but I think I do a decent job. But the other aspect is you can't make everybody happy all the time. Yep. Somebody's going to hate you for whatever you do. Yeah, no,
you're definitely there. I remember there was one guy. Yeah, you're definitely you try to bring out the best in people, and that's something that I've tried to do for years, and I've actually had it bite me quite a bit. But I just always want restoration. I want the guy to get to the next level. I want to see him work through the things that he's failed on. And then sometimes it's bit me. Sometimes we've made some guys that are blooded that aren't going anywhere that are like, thanks for giving me a chance. I
got one more aspect on that, if you don't mind me going.
Send it, bro. We're here. Full send.
All right. So good. I got to formulate this one too. Sorry, man. I got to be vague on a couple of these, but also in any of our positions, we have a lane. Right? I got my lane as the business owner, what I'm supposed to do. The executives have their lane. HR's got her lane, right? The detail lead's got his lane. The shift lead, the guy, the agent, the halls and, maybe your job is halls and walls. That's your lane. If you're halls and walls, don't try to be the EP guy. Right. If you're a res guy, don't try to be the EP guy, but support them as much as you can. If you're the EP guy, don't try to be the res guy, but support him as much as you can, because he'll take care of you. So stay in your lane. So we had a incident where there were some HR questions, specifically on labor laws, and ops started getting peppered with some of these questions from certain people. And a couple guys started looking at the internet and going down the rabbit hole.
Oh, the internet, boy. That's like Googling, what does it mean if I got a sore throat? You're going to think you got AIDS by the end of the day.
It's like trying to get your politics on social media. Just for the record, that's a bad idea. Anyway, moving on. So went down the rabbit hole, and then people went into a full panic. Yeah. And this is where I made a mistake. I didn't say, you're right, the house is on fire. That's something we should give attention. I said, don't worry about it. We got this. We got good lawyers. We're good to go. And I negated it. it made it nasty and it started to fester. And then guys started butting heads with each other, with me, the whole thing. We had to have a whole team meeting and explain the whole thing, why we were in the right. And the lawyer said what they had to do. But as an agent, don't try to do something outside your lane. Do you work for a reputable company? Then you gotta trust HR to do HR. You gotta trust the res guy to do the res guy. You gotta trust the EP guy to do his thing. You gotta trust your team. If you can't trust your team, move to another company.
Move to another team.
Yeah. If you can't trust me, don't work for LSI.
Yeah.
Right. If my 24, 25 years in the business and 15 years as a company and getting where we need to go, it doesn't speak for itself, then you probably shouldn't work for me. Go to the big box company. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So I also, on the flip side, have to stay in my lane, right? Yeah. I can't try to do the EP guy's job or the res guy's job or the detail leader or the director of security's job. I've done that, and you're just banging heads with people and taking away. One, you're disempowering them, right? And you're creating animosity. You got to trust. If you put him in the position, trust the guy, let him get on with it. You can make corrections, you can mentor, you can do all that kind of thing, but allow people to play the position that they're in and trust them. And if you don't, then you shouldn't put them in that position.
Yep, 100%. No, 100%, man. Have you seen any differences? Because I know you guys are in Florida now. Have you seen any difference between the Florida market and the Cali market?
Yeah, LA is a good spot I'll say California is, because you got NorCal with a lot of the corporate stuff. You got SoCal. It's got corporate stuff. It's also got some of the entertainment stuff. Yeah. It is higher cost of living. And even NorCal and SoCal is way different. Much higher cost of living in Northern California, but the pay rates are a bit higher, right?
Yep.
But your margin's probably the same because your cost of living sucks up there. So it's not quite at that level unless you have some NorCal clients that are operating in SoCal. And some of those guys are doing pretty well in Southern California. But the rates, what you can bill, what you can pay your guys are different in Northern California and Southern California. But California is a great spot. New York has stuff, but not as much. Miami's got stuff going on, but different and not as much. So it's a very competitive market with a lot of competition, but there's also a lot of opportunity in LA, more so than other places that I've seen. And then it's just shaking trees, understanding your marketing. No, you got to be good at sales. We'll cover that in a second. You got to be good at sales, and you got to be able to go get work. It's the hardest thing to do, but you have to be able to do it, or you're not going to stay in business long. As far as the sales piece, I used to say this all the time, and a lot of guys say it to me, which is, I'm not a salesman. I hate sales. I'm not doing sales. I'm an operator, or I'm a manager, or whatever. No, you're all a salesman. You know what I mean? When you come home from work and you're paying the bills to your wife, you're a salesman. I'm worth being your husband because I paid all the bills and I'm working my ass off over here. That is a sales process, right? As an employer to your guys, hey, come work for me. You better sell that, or the guy's going to go work for somebody else. As an employee to your company, you got to say, hey, this is my skill set. I'm willing to do this, that, and the other. You got to sell yourself, because he's looking at other candidates, and he has to be confident with putting you in a position to keep the company in business.
Why'd you take that left turn? Time to sell, dog. Time to sell. Hey, young blood. Why'd you take that right turn? Time to sell, bro.
Absolutely.
We're selling security, baby. That's what I always tell my guys, man. You're selling security. From the moment you get on that property, the way you look, the way you act, the way you address everything you're doing, you are selling security, my man. And that's another one of those skill sets. Like, as an agent, you have to have that skill set, because you want to get on with good teams. You need to sell yourself to your employers. You need to sell yourself every single day to your clients, all those things. But if you're thinking about coming up to the PPO level or the company owner level, you got to be able to sit down with decision makers and help them understand and paint the vision in their mind of what your services can do for them. And I'm an easy sale. So I'm a student of the game when it comes to salesmen. I will buy something from someone. I'll buy a vacuum cleaner I don't need, just on sheer appreciation of the process. Like, I'll be listening to them, dropping their game. Then I'll be like, yo, let me hit them with an objection real quick. Yeah, but maybe, Why is this one different than another one? I don't know, man. I'm just not that fired up about it. I don't know if I need it back. I just want to see how they deal with the objections. You know what I'm saying? And then when they come back hard,
The learning process.
Oh, I love
and you'll
it.
learn from that, right? From the vacuum salesman. You'll learn from this guy because he'll handle the hell out of your objections sometimes.
100%,
I've heard of guys doing that, getting big jobs in corporate because they were so good at their level. But that's part of the product that you put out. As far as selling yourself all the time, I've seen things like, I'll just tell this story. I might have told it before. I was with a client in New York. We were moving from one location to another. So I think we just debussed the vehicle. We're about to hit the escalator. My lead in front of the client arrived at the top of the escalator at the same time as a pregnant woman. And he said, "Excuse me, ma'am, why don't you go ahead?" But took care of her, addressed her very professionally, the whole thing. The client saw it and said, "Hey," she turned to me literally on the way down the escalator. She said, "Who is that?" I explained. I had already explained it, obviously, because he was on the detail. But
now he's made impression.
Now he's made an impression. And the client said, "Good. I want him with us whenever we're in New York." Just off how he handled a stranger who needed an accommodation. So just off that, why? Because he's representing his brand, the company's brand, and the client's brand. And that matters. It didn't put us at risk. It didn't slow us down or anything like that. It was the right thing to do. But that guy got a couple of years of work with us before he moved on to other opportunities. But that always stuck with me because it was a big wow. It landed for me how important it is, how you look, how you carry yourself, how you deal with other people. And someone's watching all the time. They see everything.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's awesome. All right, we're winding up. You're almost off the hook. I got a couple more though.
I'm here till you're done. Let's do it.
Okay, yeah. If you were going to say there was one of the greatest challenges you've dealt with building a business, what would you say has been the most difficult part of the story?
Man, you have great questions, Byron. I'm gonna give you.
I should have sent you these ahead of time, but this is the good stuff, you know.
No. This is good because I got to come off the cuff. I don't mind it at all. Man, let me formulate that one. So, you ask me a question like that, and I go, man, there's so many challenges. How do I pick out the big one? Right?
Yeah. So skip across a couple, maybe.
Yeah, and this is what I'm going to say today. It might just be what's real in my mind today. It might not. It may or may not be the biggest one, but there's so many to pull from. So for me, this came up with this group of entrepreneurs I was talking with yesterday, and everybody ran into the same thing. No matter what it is, it's a disgruntled employee, it's a disgruntled client, it's a tax bill. It's a bill that came out of nowhere, or a use of force, or something that you don't have to deal with every day, and you have to handle it. And people, there are things that we do want to do in work, and there are things that we don't want to do. Like sales isn't my favorite, but I'll do it, and I've taught myself to like it. I like operational stuff. I just came from that, and I like it.
Yeah,
but I better do the sales because people are counting on me.
Yep.
Right. So the biggest challenge for me is, one, prioritizing the too much that I have to do every day. How do I prioritize it? Pick the most important stuff and be as efficient as I can on getting it done. There's that. The next thing is I will pick the thing I want to do the least. Like, what do I not want to do? Because the growth is in that thing. Yep. So maybe I have sales. I'll make myself do sales. Maybe I've got a disgruntled point of contact who I know is wrong, and I'm like, man, I don't want to have this fight. I will make myself have that phone call quick for a multitude of reasons. One is, if I don't call that guy until tomorrow, it's in the back of my mind. It's fucking gnawing at me until tomorrow.
Sucking up bandwidth. Literally, homie, I'm right there with you. And they're like little windows that are open, and they add like a layer of stress to your life. Like, you're like, I have to deal with that.
They lock up your operating system
100%
and on time.
100%.
And it's glitching. So
and it's never as bad as you think it is. It's never as bad as you think it is when you finally just go in there like, all right, here we go.
Great point. It's not one time that even when it sucked, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
And then you're relieved afterwards.
That worked in your mind. Yeah. So I will make myself do those things I don't want to do. I got to confront a tax bill. Like, man, it's another quarter. Like, I got to hit this again. Is the money in the account? I don't want to deal with that. Right. We deal with stuff that we have contingencies for everything, but we deal with stuff every company deals with. man, I got payroll tomorrow and I got half what I need in the account.
Right.
14 years, we've never been late on payroll, but that's what a business owner deals with, man. I'm stressed out now because I just paid a tax bill. It slipped my mind. I should have waited till next week. Plus the client backed us up because the invoices weren't perfect. So instead of delaying 1 week, they delayed 6 weeks, right? Yep. And now I'm against the wall because I'm going to pay my dues or they're not going to show up to work, right?
And I'm going to go rob a bank for the home team right now.
Yeah.
We eat ramen noodles.
Yeah, and that's 1% of my stressors, right?
Yeah, bro.
But that's what's going on. So, but I better jump on that horse right now and solve it. Here's another example. We got an RFP for what will be a good contract if this goes through. That means we're in the running. Doesn't mean we have it. But we got an RFP. We have a good opportunity at this thing. We got it Friday. I worked on it one day on the weekend. My president worked on it the next day. And we had it, and we got together on Monday and knocked it out. It wasn't due until this Friday. I got it done on Monday. I usually procrastinate on some things. I'm like not doing it on this, and I'm trying not to procrastinate, period. So got it done on Monday. The amount of curveballs we've hit until Wednesday, I wanted to turn it in Monday and just crush it, right?
Yeah.
But the amount of curveballs we got hit with in making sure the references were good to go, who to contact for the references, what's the price point, what are we going to pay our guys? They wanted a different option with not enough information for me to answer the question. So I got to do a lot of back and forth. Like I'm running through all this, but I was done on Monday. I just can't get what I need to actually submit. So the fact that we did that immediately, whereas we could have waited till Thursday and we would have been late on the submission and maybe missed an opportunity. So if you have an opportunity, I just look to kill work as fast as I possibly can. I just try, and the reason I use that term, like kill the work, murder the work, because we're knuckle draggers and we like to speak like that. What that means is in corporate speak is completely handle and manage a situation until it's done and there's nothing more to do with it. Absolutely handle it all the way to its core to where it needs no more attention from you or anybody else.
Right. No.
I tried to do that Monday, but I wasn't aware of the curveballs I was going to get. So it's a good thing that we got it done that early. Anyway, so things like that, it can apply to somebody at any level. Handle what you can handle right now. Attack the things that you don't want to do because you will learn from them. For example, anybody who does martial arts, BJJ, if you got a 280-pound dude on top of you and you're in bottom position, that sucks a lot. You better get real comfortable because whenever you roll with that dude, if he's 280 pounds and he has any idea what he's doing, you're going to be in bottom position.
That's where you'll
get comfortable. Yeah, it's going to happen. So you better get comfortable. You better know your escapes or submissions or whatnot from that position. And you better have the cardio to where your brain keeps working and you're able to execute those things, because when that cardio goes, the brain stops working and then you just pay. So, so business is the same way. Like, don't be afraid to be in a compromised position or in a bad spot. Attack those things. It's what we shy from. Shooting. Like, I don't want to shoot left-handed. Well, you better know how to do it because you might need it one day.
Yeah.
So attack those things that are uncomfortable. Anyway, those are, that's my immediate answer to that question that I wasn't ready for.
Yeah, do the thing you fear until the death of fear is certain. Do the thing you fear until the death of fear is certain. Because like I said, vision takes place at the speed of execution. And execution happens at the speed of decision, man. And all those things you put off are just slowing you down. And it's just like, and as a business owner, like none of these there's not a lot of small decisions. You're making 800-pound lifts all day, 800-pound decisions, and then like, yeah, man, in my world, like, RK, are we going to do this training course? Are we going to do this live event? You know what I'm saying? And you're just sitting here just in free fall, just, and you're making these boom, boom, boom. But I 100% echo the same thing. Run towards the battle, get out there and start fighting as soon as you can. Attack those fools as quick as you can. That's why I wake up at 4 a.m., bro. And I just start fighting as much as I can. And then you get to go to bed spent. But yeah, man, that just don't hang up your business processes because you haven't made a decision or been able to get your eyes on something, that you don't want to be a bottleneck, man. That's one of the things I hate and I fear,
Hey, let me say one thing on this is fear, right? For guys like us, we're like, I'm not scared of anything. I want to go do this and that. That's a lie. And I realized
from the pit of hell, from the devil.
Yeah. I'm terrified of things. You know what I'm terrified of? Not making payroll.
Yo, yeah, bro, I'm right there with you, dog. I could only imagine the phone ringing, your team looking at you like it can't happen. It's impossible.
I'm not going to be that guy.
It's impossible, bro. I better be butt naked, no car, no house.
Yeah.
Like literally, they call me no phone, and I'm like, guys, I did my best, man. Sitting there.
I'm terrified of letting my guys down. Right.
Yeah,
guys, now you got responsibility. So you start moving up the chain. A lot of what we're talking about is guys wanting to move into business ownership. Now it's not the food on your table.
Yeah.
Food on someone else's table. Now I've got mentors that'll say, that's not your responsibility. You're given opportunities, this and that. That's true. But it's also a responsibility that I feel if I make a mistake on one of those 800-pound decisions and we lose that client and my guy loses work, that's hard for me to accept. I don't like it. Right? So it terrifies me. I don't want to do that. So what does that mean? Good. Accept the fear and charge it. Right. So go make the client phone call. Go meet with points of contact. Make sure the quality control is good. Mentor that guy that you need to because he's not performing at the standard.
Yeah.
Go attack those things that are the uncomfortable things because if you don't do it, you may lose this contract. If you do it and you lose the contract, at least you're doing everything you can. Let me control everything I can control. I'm going to do that much because I'm afraid of letting someone down, not being able to produce what I need to produce and not being able to execute at the level I should be.
100%. And I'm trying to kill baby dragons. I'm trying to kill baby dragons because you sleep on that dragon, dog. You're going to have Gayinka coming around the corner on you in a couple months. I'm all about killing baby. If I even think it's scary, like, yo, we got to go out here, bro. We got to fight this. I got to go deal with this thing. Because if you don't, man, I'm telling you, bro, that's when it sneaks up on you and you're like, what am I? Oh my gosh. And now you got to pray and all of this stuff. Yeah. And this leads perfectly into my next question, which is the fear management. I personally, I love fear in that it is bar none. I mean, we can go into the psychology degree and all that, but like really it is the most motivating thing in the whole entire world. Like the whole procrastination thing. The question is like, do you have fear or does fear have you? I use fear for fuel. I allow myself to be a little bit afraid. I allow myself to feel a little bit of anxiety because it motivates, gets me into action. And that's my relationship with fear that I've cultivated over the years. Like I'm fighting grandma. I'm going to allow myself to be a little bit afraid because grandma could just stick a pencil in my ear and kill me. And then like, I don't get to go to Valhalla, man. Like, yeah, I mean, anybody can kill you, bro. So like, I see these tasks and I'm like, bro, you got to get this done. Your team's counting on you. Your family's counting on you. God's counting on like you're the guy, And so I let myself be a little afraid. And that makes me run. That makes me get up at 4 a.m. in the morning being like, hey, bro, you're a little bit retarded. You need to look at this like 8 times. So everyone else gets to look at it 2 or 3 times. You better get up and start looking at it, bro. What are you going to do? Later, you're going to sleep? So that's awesome. But what would you say about the emotional world and you kind of touched on this, of being an entrepreneur, like, what's that like? And I think you kind of talked about, but like, how do you manage that? The emotions, the emotional game of being an entrepreneur. How would you describe that?
Good question. So
real quick before you start, we all think we're hard. We're all tacticians and we're all amazing. But what I have found is that someone's emotional intelligence is one of the probably one of the biggest skill sets that determines how far they go in life. Sometimes I sit with guys who have tremendous backgrounds and I'm like, hey, here's the plan. Here's the courses. Here's what we can do for you if you come train with us. And they're like, and it all comes down to emotional intelligence. It's interesting. Then I get a guy who's got no background, kind of chubby, civilian. He's like, okay, I'm going to do this. And he gets up the courage and he comes with us. And then he's out there on contracts, living his best life, taking care of his family. And I'm like looking at the 2 guys and I'm like, you didn't recognize the moment and you didn't pull the trigger. And it's an emotional thing because it has to do with like, your ability to take a leap, your ability to deal with the unknown, your ability to do these things. And it happens in every area of our lives. And then I got the other guy who's like, okay, I'm going to jump, strap me in. And I'm like, let's go, bro. And I know what's going to happen. I do this all day, every day for guys. Like, I know what is going to, I can see you got the magic eye, Hoyt. If I tell you got the magic eye, you got the magic eye, and so it's interesting to see. You put a million geniuses in one room, the one who's going to win is going to be the one with the emotional intelligence. So I don't know. So if you're going to paint a picture of the emotional world of an entrepreneur, what would you say?
Good question. So it's one of those things that you just have to be in control of, right? Yeah. In any aspect of life, what you said, it is absolutely an emotional roller coaster because I'll speak for myself. There's so many things that I hadn't done before.
Yeah.
Right. Managing personnel, dealing with HR, taxes, insurance, accounting, all these things, dealing with clients at that level, dealing with points of contact. It's all new conversations, making the sales, learning how to market and sell and doing it effectively. It's all new things that you're not good at, you're uncomfortable with, but must be done if you want to execute the mission. So emotionally, for me, people, you say you're emotional, they think I'm crying. No, I'm crying. I'm mad when I don't need to. We're talking about inappropriate emotions, right? Well, how are you facing these problems? So for me, I have to understand and acknowledge I'm going to have emotions. I'm going to be scared at some point. I'm going to be angry at some point. I'm going to be sad at some point. I'm going to be happy about it at some point. Mm-hmm. Is it appropriate for what I'm being faced with? And if it's not good, how do I control that? Right. And just follow through in the mission. And how I do that is basically on the emotional intelligence aspect is what is the next correct action I need to do? And I do it right now. And when I finish that one, what's the next correct action I need to execute? And I do it right now. I just continue to do that on what the next best thing is. If I don't know the answer, I'll benchmark it. I'll call you. I'll call some of my guys. I'll talk to my team. What's the best way to approach this thing? And gather information. I don't overdo it. I gather the information I need and I execute. So you just have to do. So it's all about action. It's the Nike, just do it, get after it. And that's how I deal with that emotional thing. And also understand the first time, you catch a lawsuit or the first time you haven't used the course or something like that, it's gonna scare the shit out of you.
Yep.
If you've never seen it before, you don't know what the ramifications are, and you work through it and learn it kind of as you do it sometimes.
Yeah. And that's this game. Yeah. Good stuff, Charles, man. It's such an honor. We hammered on so much. I got more, but we're going to cover it at the EP Expo, you guys, man. I think we gave him so much value in this call, in this meeting, man. It's such an honor to hang with you, work with you, all the things that we do, man. I'm glad to be on this journey with you. It's truly been an honor. And why don't you tell them where they can find you and all that good stuff, man?
Good. Yeah. You guys can find us at Law Security Inc. At Law Security Inc. at Instagram. LawSecurityInc.com is the website. You can find us in those two places. We got a YouTube channel. I'm not the IT guy, so I don't have all that stuff. But if you put in Law Security, you'll find it. But those are the places to find us. Obviously, Byron's got our number if you got to reach through him or something like that. We are always looking for great talent in all positions, uniform armed guards, for schools, churches, banks, synagogues, that kind of thing, residential security teams, EP teams, corporate office security. We're always looking for quality personnel in management and even in executive strata as we go. So for me, it's all about the relationships. What can I bring to somebody else is how I try to start. How can I take care of somebody else? How can we have I'm going to use one of my guys' words. How can we have a symbiotic relationship and help achieve our goals? That's what we're looking at. Byron, absolute honor to do another podcast with you. I appreciate you. I'm honored for you to have me at EPX. I'm looking forward to that, to the questions. I'm also between you and me, but I'm also looking forward to questions from the field, like what are guys concerned about? What do they want to know more about? I always love hearing that and helping wherever I can. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, man. No, we're going to bring you into the conversation. We're going to serve the industry with this time, man. It's going to be awesome. Yeah. Charles, you're the man, bro. We'll see you in a few weeks. EP Expo, August 25th and 26th. Let's go, y'all.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it.
Boom. Boom. Quick shout out to our sponsor, Staccato. My first pistol sponsor. I've been sponsored by a lot of companies, right, over the years. But when it comes to pistol, that's my bread and butter. Pistol is something I believe in. I'm a competitive shooter. We're shooting anywhere from, 800 rounds a month type of thing, right? So Staccato, being what I believe, is one of, if not the most complete handguns you can put in your hand. It's got every component that a handgun could have, should have. They're actually extremely dependable now that they've made some changes, and these things are straight up tack drivers. If you're looking for a pistol that will do as much of the work for you as a piece of hardware can, obviously you have to have the marksmanship and all the different things, but different guns perform at different levels. And I want to say that Staccato is one of
By far, for sure, take it from a competitive shooter, we're shooting the highest volumes of rounds constantly right now. Not used to have a background guy, but like right now, when you go shoot, you're gonna see certain brands. Staccato is one of, if not the highest performing firearm that is both CCW, duty ready, and also competitive ready. So I want to give them a shout out. If you guys are looking for a good handgun to build your skills on top of, go check out Staccato. Much love and respect. Boom. When it comes to the technology you use to protect your home, there's nothing better than Deep Sentinel. AI-driven, human-monitored technology that will keep you and your family safe for the same price you're paying for whatever Ring doorbell system you have. Check out Deep Sentinel. It's such an honor to join forces with these guys. They should be in every single house in the world. Get real-time Overwatch for you and your loved one. And for 10% off, depending on when you're watching this, don't forget to use code Byron at checkout. Boom. And to support this podcast, go to executiveprotectionlifestyle.com and contribute to our Patreon account. That Patreon account is what helps me make this podcast possible, contributing to this brand, what we're doing here, making it so that I can bring better guests on, making it so that we can plan more events and just expand the contribution to the private security industry, and also to making America a safer place. Do whatever you can, contribute whatever you can, because it makes all of these things possible. Thanks for those contributions.